Just finally, if I may, a very simple question. Are we, right now, as we go about our daily lives at the start of 2017, witnessing the first days of a new world order? That dramatic statement. Is that right?
We're in the middle of really profound change, no question about it.
Welcoming Prince Charles and Camilla to a private meeting at the Vatican today. The visit is part of their 9-day tour.
So I think focusing on what they had in common, focusing on peace.
We want to show you some extraordinary pictures which came to us from the Vatican.
And you can see, I'm not making this up. It comes, you might say, right out of the Pope's own mouth.
La mayor parte de los habitantes del planeta se declaran creyentes. Esto debería provocar un diálogo entre las religiones.
Within hours of Pope Benedict announcing that he was to resign, take a look at this. Lightning struck St. Peter's Basilica.
En esta multitud, en este abanico de religiones, hay una sola certeza que tenemos para todos. Todos somos hijos de Dios.
So when you ask what are we going to do about it, there really is the potential to cooperate. And how do you cooperate in a big, complicated world? Actually, it's interesting. There's no leader right now in the world. You know, there are more or less important people, President Xi Jinping or Donald Trump, of course, important, but they're not leading. There are wonderful people like my boss at the UN, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, but the UN Secretary General, he's got a unique institutional role, but he doesn't lead the world in any sense. He's not a conductor of the world orchestra. So there is no leader.
NAU professor
Paul tells us is basically, well, the way he phrases it is peace and safety.
Where all Syrians will be able to live in peace and security.
Paul would put it this way in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, that the message will be peace and safety. The word peace there literally means the end of war, the end of conflict. There will be harmony and unity and peace on earth and goodwill towards men. This will be the new utopian era. The word safety means there will be certainty, there will be stability, physical and economic security. These two things have powerful attractions to most people because we live in a broken, wounded, and violent world that's troubled with all sorts of ugly things. And the idea that one person can come on the scene and by almost a wave of a wand or divine caveat or just simply political muscle can make all of that ugliness go away and bring peace on earth.
So let me ask you, would you let your employer, and our employer is Rogers, but would you let your employer, let's say, implant a microchip in you? Because one office in Sweden is doing just that.
So the biggest benefit, I think, is convenience.
But now some employees are actually getting microchipped.
So, you know, you just go up, you just stand by the thing, and it works.
Wave, yeah.
It was brilliant.
The
story is set in the future when the lines between humans and machines are blurred.
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the show, the possibility of it.
The possibility,
And
right.
at first, I was completely against it.
Someone used it as like season tickets, right, for a European football,
yes.
soccer.
And you just kind of wave your
you could
finger.
walk in, right.
I started thinking about how things have changed in 40 years. When I was in college, nobody would have dreamed that we were all going to be taking photographs with one of these instead of one of these.
Carrying money around, a wallet and plastic cards, that's obvious. I mean, it's the next step, the next natural step for electronics is to move into the body.
It does raise security and privacy concerns. Of course, the data generated by it lets the company know where you've been and what you've been doing.
No baristas anymore, because that'll also be robots, but they will know from your iris scan that you want a
double, triple caramel.
It also has a new virtual assistant called Bixby and an iris scanner that lets users unlock their phones by looking at them.
DNA is a valuable investigative tool. Fingerprints are a valuable investigative lead and tool. But what scares me is the FBI and the Department of Justice proactively trying to collect everybody's face. And then having a system with a network of cameras where if you go out in public, that too can be collected and then used in the wrong hands, nefarious hands, somebody in government misusing it. It does scare me. Are you aware of any other country that does this?
We are seeing them more and more, drones watching down from the sky and with few regulations.
More like a toned-down version of what has become common in 21st century warfare, remotely controlled flying weaponry that kills.
I am not a person who will give up privacy for safety.
Not when the tool to enforce safety brings so many questions of its own.
Connecticut state legislature is considering a bill to put a lethal airborne option in the hands of police. The proposal's sudden appearance has sent a shockwave through the state capitol.
I didn't even know this bill was in it.
Sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshipped the dragon who gave authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. All who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If anyone has an ear, let him hear.